Hey everyone, it's been a while, but what I have here is Hockey Franchise Manager 10, and I'm going to be working with the Toronto Maple Leafs to try to win them their first Stanley Cup in, I don't know, more than 50 years. So to start this series, I have a few goals I want to accomplish for this season. The first goal I have is to shed cap to meet the salary cap, because currently we are over the cap. This is starting at the beginning of the 2023-2024 season. So Klingberg isn't injured at all, so we can't put him in LTIR just yet. But currently we are $1.52 million over the cap, so we need to shed about $1.6 million in cap to make it, so we can play the game. And some players that I've been looking at to get their salaries out of here, to shed those salaries, um, John Klingberg and TJ Brody, because that $5 million price tag is a bit excessive for a 33-year-old. It is only 1 year, but I feel like if we can shed that and maybe pick up someone in free agency, that'd be good. John Klingberg, I'm a little bit more hesitant to let go because in this game he is 3 stars out of 5, and he would be pretty good uh, on our back end. Yeah, currently he's playing uh, on the first pairing with Morgan Riley. So he's kind of important, but again, it's all about lowering the amount of cap. The second goal I have is to judge and see if I want to trade or sign William Nylander. Now, in real life, he got a pretty sizable contract, I think around the 11 million, like 11.6 ish. But in this game, his extension has not been set in place yet, so we have to decide whether to sign him or to trade him this year. Currently, he's at 4 stars in this game, and he's pretty good offensively. Defensively, he's a bit lacking, but that's not his role, so we shouldn't expect it to be his role. Currently, I tried signing him to a contract, but he's not very interested in signing one just yet, so we'll have to wait and see if he's more open to that in the future. The third goal I have is pretty similar to the second, and that's to judge, then trade or extend Mitch Marner. In this game, he is very good. He is a 5 star, both potential and ability. He is a very good player to have. But the problem is, we are going to have to need to shed cap in order to fulfill my other goals that I have. If Mitch Marner can produce well and not ask for 13, $14 million, then I probably will extend him. But if he doesn't give me the justification to sign him, then it's most likely he will get traded. There's several goals that I want him to accomplish in the sim that I'll get to later, but nevertheless, that's the third goal. The fourth goal I have, there's two parts of it. One is to acquire a top 2 D-man. We have Morgan Riley, who is really good at a 3.5 stars, but I'm really looking for that number 1 defenseman that the Toronto Maple Leafs does not have at this moment. There's two ways we can get to this. We can trade, we can find them in free agency, we could draft the number 1 defenseman, but those decisions that will have to come later at the moment, because currently in free agency there isn't anyone available that I would want to take at a price point. But definitely throughout this year, we can look for any possible trades to make with any players. The second part of that fourth goal is to acquire a goaltender. Our goalie situation is very rough at the moment. I think our best goaltender is currently Samsonov, who is 3 stars, I believe. I need to double check that. But we definitely want to acquire a goaltender who is 3.5 or 4 stars at best, just to make sure we have that extra, you know, insurance in case our defense doesn't hold up. Our fifth goal is to bolster our depth with some young players. Now we have several prospects here, most of which I will not try to name due to pronunciation, but we do have some prospects that are willing to, or that could make the jump to the NHL. But I do want to bolster this depth to make sure we have a future because at this moment it's looking a bit dry. This is especially an issue when you look at the system rankings for prospects. As you can see, the Toronto Maple Leafs are 30th out of 32 teams. So that's definitely something that we need to jump on and secure. The sixth goal I have is not as important, but it is to create a defensive line, whether that's the third line or the fourth line. I want to have a good shutdown line to help with our defense, especially if we're not able to acquire that number 2D. This, again, can be accomplished in many ways, but most likely free agency is something I want to take advantage of in this case. But again, we'll have to wait and see. And the final part of the plan that I have is to judge Sheldon Keefe. We all know how the coaching situation went in real life. Currently, Sheldon Keefe as a coach is pretty good, but there's definitely, I think, going to be better options at the coming of, once the year ends. So that's one thing that I have to decide on. And of course, the rest of the coaching staff as well. If things don't go well this year, I could do a full reboot of just the entire coaching staff, goalie coach, defense coach, everyone. This season, I also have 3 distinct goals, both the team and the players. My first goal is to get top 5 in the league out of all teams. It's going to help us get the best possible and probable spot in the playoffs. Gives us home ice advantage, as well as it really showcases our regular season dominance. The second goal I have is to reach at least the second round. We all know the whole, curse that the Maple Leafs can't get past the first round. But, this is a video game at the end of the day, so hopefully that doesn't apply and we can easily get past the first round. The third goal I have is getting Matthews to 60 goals. His price tag is pretty high, and we also have to see if I have to extend him here or not. I mean, I am going to pay him whatever he wants because, he's Austin Matthews. But him getting 60 goals will really help justify that price tag. And, of course, the final goal I have here is Mitch Marner getting 100 points. This is to, 1, either boost his trade value, or 2, gives me a reason to set aside money to keep him. And just a quick review of the roster we have here. We have Martin Jones at the same overall as Ilya Samsonov. This is actually kind of worse than I was expecting. I expected Samsonov to be at 3 stars, but he's at 2.5 with 3-star potential. We also have Joseph Woll here, so I'll have to make a few decisions to see if there's any goalies I might want to get rid of or trade. But I don't really want to necessarily get rid of Samsonov unless it's at a good asking price, and that would help us get under the cap, however, so it is definitely an option. In terms of defensemen, we have quite a few solid defensemen. We have Morgan Riley, of course, who's locked in for the rest of his career here in Toronto. That's a pretty good asking price for what he gives us. Giordano, who's here for 1 year, $800K. Again, pretty good overall. Klingberg, we discussed the price. It's both him and TJ Brody that we have to keep an eye out for. And really see if one of these can go. But our defensive depth is lacking. We have McCabe here, who's at 1.5 stars. So if we can at all upgrade this defense, it would be great. And of course, we have the forwards. So over here, we have Austin Matthews. Of course, he's sitting there at 5 stars. Same with Mitch Marner. Both at very high cap hits. Matthews, Marner, Tavares are all up there. And this is what we're going to try to build around. Of course, we might trade Mitch Marner, we might trade Nylander, could trade Tavares. I don't have any real connections to these players. I'm willing to ship them off at the earliest convenience and at a good asking price. I don't want to ship these guys off just for one first. I want to see a good return for these core players. And then, of course, we have William Nylander at 4 stars. Tyler Bertuzzi at 3.5. Hopefully he produces with that price tag. Then we actually have David Kampf locked in at 4 years, $2.4 million. Then we have Max Domi, 1 year, $3 million. And then we have the bottom 6 here. We have Matthew Nyes, Dylan Granville, Jan Krog, Gregor, Fraser Minton. And we have some interesting news from Florida. They want to move Sergei Bobrovsky. I assume it's to deal with that contract of, $10 million for 3 years. I would be interested, but like I said, we are at a cap crunch at the moment. I don't think there's any way we could make a deal work. unless it has to do with moving again someone like William Nylander or Mitch Marner or John Tavares. And guys, I've been experimenting with a lot of trades, and no one that T. Brody actually has a 10-team trade list, which means I can only trade him to the 10 different teams. And out of those 10 different teams, no one is willing to take on his $5 million contract. So this may be a no option. I don't think I can necessarily move TJ Brody unless I retain salary. So I'm going to try to find a different avenue of shedding cap. Okay guys, I think I have a really I managed to find a deal. Tampa Bay Lightning willing to take on the contract if we retain 35%, which is $2.625 million. And they're willing to give us a fifth and a seventh back. I'm going to offer this. It's our scouts think they'll probably accept it. I'm going to offer the trade. I'm going to see what they say. But if this does work out, we will be down one defenseman. However, we will also be under the maximum cap for this coming season. Okay, I simmed a few days, and there's a few things we have to talk about. One, there's a bunch of trades that just happened, nothing too major. Minnesota is looking to trade Marc-Andre Fleury, who is 2.5 stars. Oh, that's salary there. I was gonna say, if it was a bit cheaper, then I might have considered adding him just to help with our goaltending. But at the end of the day, probably not. This is a pretty big trade, I would say. It's Coyotes and the Ducks, the Coyotes who are now Utah. They end up exchanging Yanis Moser, I think, and Frankie Vetrano, which is pretty significant. Pretty big trade there. But the main piece of news I wanted to talk about was I renegotiated the deal a little bit, just to see if I could maybe try to keep TJ Brody, because I looked around the league. There isn't much I could do to help add to the defense. I wanted to remove as less as I could while still maintaining while still reaching the salary cap. So I managed to work up a deal sending Jake McCabe, who's only 1.5 stars, with a $2 million cap hit, and I got a load of just very cheap draft picks. I do believe this will put us under the cap, so I am willing to complete this trade. Alright, I just double checked, and this is probably the best deal that we could come up with. So I'm going to go ahead and complete this trade. So what I ended up doing is I ended up calling up, I don't know how to pronounce his name, LaJoy, I think, from the Toronto Maple Leafs. I ended up calling him up. So at the end of the day, our defense isn't looking too different. We now have Riley, Klingberg, Joy, I hope I'm saying that name right, Lilligren, Giordano, and TJ Brody as our defensive core. In terms of our even strength, I do want to toy with it a little bit. I'm going to see if I can get up maybe a few more rookies. I'm going to look at some overalls, and I'll come back to you when I've done that. Alright guys, if you look down below, the salary cap is just under, I'm talking just under the max. It's gonna be very hard to add without taking away at the trade deadline, or if we want to make any additions throughout the season. But this is the reality we have to deal with, and we're gonna carry on ahead. Okay, so interesting opportunity here. I simmed to the beginning of the preseason, and we have New York who wants to move Jonathan Quick. He's 3 stars. He is 37. But that salary is something that I'm very interested in, because I think I can work around it and create a offer that will be enough for us not to go over the cap, but he will also really help us with our goaltending. So I'm gonna try to scrape up an offer here, and unfortunately I can't make an offer because he has a no movement clause that does not include us. So, an opportunity that could have worked out, but we have to move on. Okay, and this is the final lineup for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, I'm doing only GM mode. There's an option to do GM and coaching. I chose only to be the GM, so in terms of strategies, training, and lineups, I don't control any of this. I can only control what players my coach has to use. And so you can see Ryan Reeves is being benched, and what my coach has set up is Domi, Matthews, and Marner. So it's kind of a loaded top six. Nyes, Tavares, Nylander, Gregor Bertuzzi as a center, Young Croak, and Clifford, Camp, Gambrell. In terms of defense, we have Riley and Klingberg as the first pairing, LaJoy and Lilligren for the second one, and Giordano and TJ Brody as the third pairing. Of course, in goaltending, I chose to send down Jones just because I saw that Wold would be put on waivers, and I think he's too good to not be claimed, to not be overlooked. So he's going to be backing up Samsonov in the regular season. Okay, first game is Montreal Canadiens. Okay, at the end of the first period, we have nearly doubled their shots, 16-9. No goals on either side though. Jordan Harris gets a roughing call, and Austin Matthews gets an illegal stick penalty. Noah Gregor also gets a high stick, so it's going to be a 5-on-3 for us. And they score. Raphael Harvey Pinard scores, and Josh Anderson. Okay, we're gonna have to pick it up here in the third period. There we go. That's a goal. William Nylander, assisted by Matthews and Domi. We have 5 minutes to score one more. And Josh Anderson scores right after. I think that's pretty much it. Unless we have last minute someone. No. Guys, I can't believe this. William Nylander is going to be injured. He has a fractured vertebrae in his neck and will be gone for 2 to 3 months. That's a huge hit to our team. It's gonna be difficult to replace his production. It's also gonna be a good test to see if we can play without a key core player. I'm gonna be putting him onto LTIR 3 months. That's gonna take him all the way to January. So he won't be injured long enough to use the LTIR trick that Vegas likes to use. But I will put him on the injury list, which frees up a good amount of cap. So I'm gonna look for if there's a short-term opportunity. For now, Gambrell can take his place, but still, that's a huge hit to our team. Okay, the next day, and I'm faced with a pretty difficult decision here. We have the option to delay treatment for Nylander until the end of the season. If we let him keep playing, like it's still gonna last 3 months, but if we let him keep playing after that, he's gonna be at risk of another injury. This is gonna be a difficult decision to make. I don't know if I have to make it right now or have to wait. If I have time to wait, I kind of want to see how the team does without him. But this might be our way to, because I checked, right, and he still doesn't want to come back. He wants to test the market. So I'm gonna have to trade him. And now my question is, do I try to max out his trade value, and risk him have a greater injury with another team, or do I rest him and try to trade him while he's still injured? What I'm gonna do is I'm going to not delay his treatment. And just a quick update on the lines. Without Nylander, it's looking a bit weaker. So we have Young Croak on the second line. Kemp moves in for the center of the third line. Bertuzzi moves to the wing. The start of the season isn't going too great. We're 4-3-1 with 9 points, third in the division. Hopefully the team does better down the stretch. Alright guys, I think I found a suitable trade that is well worth it, I believe. I wanted to trade William Nylander because he does not want to return to Toronto. He wants to test free agency. I've waited a good 3 months now since the beginning of this season. His opinion has not changed. I found a pretty good trade in my opinion, where we would be exchanging William Nylander, who's 27, for Andrei Kuzmenko, who's also 27. Kuzmenko has 2 years at 5.5, so it's a little bit cheaper. We are retaining some salary on Nylander, but his contract ends this year. Alongside it, we're getting Tom Willander, who is a pretty decent defensive prospect, who hopefully develops well for us, and could be a future top 4 player for us. And I am also sending a bunch of draft picks, including some draft picks that I have received from the previous trade that I made earlier in the season. I'm going to offer this trade, and I'm going to see what they say. This trade might seem weird to begin with. After all, why would you trade off Max Domi for Jason Dickinson? But one reason behind this was he's a very unpopular person in the locker room. When you go to Team Harmony, he is one of the biggest disruptors out of everything. He's the single biggest locker room cancer in this game, at least. So I decided to ship him off again with several late round picks in exchange for Jason Dickinson, who is cheaper, and I'm going to try to make Chicago retain some salary. I still haven't heard back from the Vancouver Canucks, so I don't know what they're thinking about the Andrei Kuzmenko Nylander trade. But until I get a response back, I'm just going to do this to help fix the locker room chemistry, which I think is one of the reasons why the team isn't doing so well, because that's been an issue for quite some time. I hoped it would resolve itself, but hopefully this helps out. Okay, guys, some huge news. I got two acceptances from both the trades I offered. For the Vancouver trade, we went back and forth for quite a while. I'm talking a few weeks, but eventually they did agree. So the deal is Toronto Maple Leafs send Nylander with 20% retained, a sixth, seventh, and Mike Costa, who's he's not that great of a prospect. I think got max 2-star potential in exchange for Andrei Kuzmenko and an 18-year-old Tom Willander. William Nylander is currently injured. He's played, I think, 5 games or 3 games for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Sending him 20% retained for Andrei Kuzmenko, who's the same age, about the same level of skill, a good goal scorer, someone who's been playing for for the season, so he has the experience. I really think this will help out our offensive production, which has been lacking, but that might not have been the main issue. My second trade I made is aimed to resolve that issue of a bad locker room chemistry. And here we have Max Domi with a 6 and 2/7 in exchange for Jason Dickinson. Again, I didn't really want to lose Max Domi. His effect on the team locker room has made it clear to me that there's no way I could justify him staying. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and complete both these trades. Alright guys, here's a new look of our lines post-trade. We have Andrei Kuzmenko up in the first line with Matthews and Marner. Then we have Nye, Tavares, and Bertuzzi. And then on the third line we have Clifford, Dickinson, and Youngkrook. So Dickinson slides in at 3C. And then as well, if we look at our depth chart, you can see Tom Willander is immediately our number 1 prospect. So he jumps straight up to number 1 on our depth chart, which helps my goal to bolster depth with young players and secure a future. I'm going to continue to sim till game 41, and then we'll do a review of half the year so far. Alright everyone, we have reached the midway point of the season. Yeah, it's been a pretty disappointing season. There's been plenty of surprises. Firstly, with the Nylander injury for 3 months, that close to ending as soon as we traded him. That was a core major player out long term, which we did not anticipate. No one could anticipate. Alongside that, for about 3 weeks, I didn't tell you, but you can tell if you look at Austin Matthews' games played here, is how it's not 42. He missed 10 games with another injury, which corresponded with the Nylander injury. So we struggled pretty heavily without those two. But even with Matthews back, and before the Nylander's injury and after his Kuzmenko coming back, it's been a pretty disappointing year. We are 5th in the division, which is not where we want to be. In terms of where we are in the wild card, we're currently outside a playoff spot. And this is extremely disappointing. As the Toronto Maple Leafs GM, I have to take full responsibility for the team not playing as well as they should. Clearly, there's still work to be done, but I do think the Domi trade for Dickinson and the trade for Kuzmenko will help this team get over into hopefully a top 3 team in not the league anymore. That's not really a goal, but definitely within the division. We want to reach top 3. We don't want to be in a wild card spot at all. In terms of how the team is doing generally, in 41 games, 22 wins, 16 losses, 3 OT losses, we're on pace for about 94 points, which is not good enough. I don't think 94 points gets us into a playoff spot in the East at all. Playing at home has been our weakness, 10-10-1 at home, 16-6-2 on the road. Though we are on a 5-game win streak, so we are winning recently, which is what we want to see. We want to see constant and quick wins here to get us into a playoff spot. Just looking at a few details down here, in terms of goals per game, we are 6th in the league. Goals against per game, we're 17th. Oh, sorry, we're 20th. So we let in a lot of goals, but we do score a lot of goals at the same time. Our power play is 24th, which is, I mean, that's just that's probably one of the biggest reasons why we're not winning these games. We need to find a way to improve the power play. I'll take a look at the coaching staff, see if we can make any adjustments there. But definitely, a 24th is not good enough for a contending team, which is what we want to be. In terms of penalty killing, sixth in the league, that is really good. It's just that power play is holding us back substantially. And now just looking at the forward lines, Marner has played very well. He's played the best out of everyone, though at the same time, you have to consider that Matthews was gone for a substantial amount of time. Of course, Nylander just was not here for the longest time. Though it's still impressive to see. He has scored 20 goals, 26 assists, and it's a +2, which is very good to see. 52% on faceoffs, a 72 grade. Kuzmenko is our new addition. These are his stats in the season as a whole, but if we look at how he has done with us, in 3 games, he has not scored any goals or any assists. Oh, that's that's not great, but it is a very small sample size. We need to see how he does at the new position he plays. It might take a while for him to settle in. Matthews, even though he was gone for 10 games, is still third on our team with 23 goals. I don't think he really has a chance at getting any scoring awards this season, just because unless he tears it up, he's missed those 10 games. Though he is on pace for what, 46 goals? Yeah, I don't think that's gonna win him any scoring titles anytime soon. Tavares, which is a name that I have higher up on who I might trade. He's done very well. I don't really have many complaints. 30 points, 15 goals, 15 assists, on pace for 60 points. That is not worthy of what I'm paying him, but it's not terrible at the same time. Matthew Nye is the rookie. He's on pace for 56 points. There might be a chance he wins, but most likely Connor Bedard is going to win Rookie of the Year. Dickinson, the new addition, 2 assists in 4 games, -2. It's okay, but the biggest effect that that trade had was getting rid of Domi's interactions and just players' complaints about him. And then following on, we have Tuesday, 24 points, Camp 20, Youngkirk 19, -5, Clifford 12, also -5, Gambrell -6 with 8 points. We want to see higher plus minuses from these bottom 6 players because we want to have those players be shutdown players, at least defensively minded players at the end of the day. And then Holmberg finishes them off, and Reeves came in during a few moments during the season. In terms of defensemen, it's not even close to what I expected. We have a player whose name I'm not sure I'm pronouncing right, Max Lajoie, Lajoie, someone who I didn't even know of before starting this game. He has 26 points and is a +8, which is incredible. I did not expect this to happen at all. I mean, it's awesome to see, but it's still. Morgan Riley was injured for a few moments, about a week, I think. But still, 38 games played, 25 points on pace for 50. That's pretty good. That's we can't really ask for more than that. A better plus minus would help, but then again, plus minuses are down for most of the team. Klingberg is someone that stands out. Someone who I want to trade near the beginning. He's actually gone up in overall from 3 to 3.5, which is really cool to see. He's a +10 as well. This could be a player that we sell high on, but seeing how we are desperately trying to make a playoff spot, I don't really think so. But still, I'll keep an eye out in case there's any better defenseman we can get. We can cash in on his enhanced performance, on Klingberg's enhanced performance this season so far. Timothy Liljegren, 22 points, 41 games, +3. Overall, seems pretty good there. TJ Brody is not going to be returning, especially at that price point, but still on pace for 30 points, pretty decent there. Mark Giordano was injured for moments of the season, but I still like that +12 and the -2. Well, not the -2, but the 12 points is good enough, I think, for what I expect. And then we have Lykinson, who came in doing some portions of the season. And Herney, who we played for one game, is just a player that we signed in free agency, who's now down in the Toronto Marlies. Now looking at goaltending. So Joseph Woll played 11 games, Samsonov played 32 games. So we'll start with Samsonov. In 32 games, here we go. In 32 games, he has 18 wins, 12 losses, with a .915 save percentage and a 3.07 goals against average. That is very good. I like those numbers a lot from Samsonov. Might influence if I sign him or not. It's still up there in terms if I really want to sign him. It depends on what he's asking for. We have Joseph Woll in the rear, but those are very good numbers. I really like those numbers. And next up, we have Joseph Woll here, who has grown in potential, I think. 3.5, yeah. He hasn't played that many games. Yeah, we can check down here. He hasn't played that many games, only 11 games. But in those 11 games, a .909 save percentage and a 3.36 goals against average. Pretty good. I just hope he develops well. So guys, that's going to be the end of this first part, or just standalone video. It depends on if I, feel motivated or not. But at the end of the day, it's kind of fun being back, trying to record videos. In the next part, if I do continue this series, what we want to look for is enhancing the defense and continuing to evaluate Andrei Kuzmenko, as well as Jason Dickinson, to see if they are good enough at the position they are. I am not really hesitant in trading him. I am hesitant in trading Tom Verlander, who is the number one prospect for us now, and is going to be a core member of the team in the future. So thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you next time.